Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, I have some really delicious news for you today that absolutely knocks Meghan's claims about a warm relationship with the Queen out of the ballpark. And there is a verification from within my book. So Meghan's not going to be able to say, oh, well, of course she's saying it now because the Queen's dead. But we'll get to that towards the end of this. We're going to deal with matters of less gravitas first. So without further ado, I am going to plunge right in. Victoria Churchyard says, oh, and this is really important, somebody's impersonating me. And it's just beyond belief. But I suppose it's not, because I'm in touch with various people who have been the victims of bots, including Samantha Markle. Evidently, Meghan's people love unleashing bots on everybody. Well, evidently, there's a bot on this channel, and we are going to post a warning about it. But first of all, I'll say what Victoria Churchyard says. I seem to be constantly attacked by bots, infiltrators, pretending to be Lady C. Is this happening to anyone else? Please let me know. Victoria Churchyard. I looked at my comments page, and under every comment there is a ridiculous pretend comment from a fraudster asserting to be from me. But Sergio Uribe says, dear Lady C, I hope you are back to full health soon. Getting there, my dear Sergio Uribe, getting there, thank you. This time I will not ask you a question, but will warn you of what seems to be a scam using your name. On a previous comment I posted, I got a reply that seemed to come from you, since we can see your profile picture that is not properly written. Thanks, you, my wonderful supporter. I have a present for you, and then there is a link to send a message from this YouTube channel to a Telegram chat. It all seems quite suspicious, and the fact that there is your picture might be very misleading. Much love as ever. Yes, there is. It is message me on Instagram at Lady Colin Campbell 1, and it says the very first 2 words should give the game away. Feedback appreciate. Well, I don't speak pidgin English, and you can't feedback appreciate. Feedback appreciated. So right there is the dead giveaway. But we are going to post and pause this to be able to get this point across. Okay? So that you will know what to avoid. And please do not send any questions anywhere except in the comment section. I have no presents for anybody. I'm afraid I'm not buying anybody. I don't buy and I can't be bought. I'm afraid that Megsy Baby's supporters seem to have looked at the wrong person. Well, I'm not the one with a for sale sign hitched all over my wagon. Coda Nikalika says, hi Lady C, as always you are the epitome of style and reserve. Thank you very much. One does make an effort. It's nice to be appreciated, even by you, my sweet baby girl, yes. What do you think of Meghan the feminist's role in Beverly Hills 90210 after leaving Deal or No Deal because she was objectified? Do you think Meghan is a method actor? It appears her role in 90210 reflects what the courtiers called Harry after he got together with her. Looking forward to your thoughts, Clona. Yes. In 2 years after Meghan was objectified and resented the fact that Howie Mandel and all those girls weren't recognizing her for the genius that she is. Although it has to be said, the State Department didn't either because she failed the exams, remember? She failed the exams. So I can't believe that her contribution to the Secretary of the Treasury was quite as great as she was making it out to be. However, you never know. You never know. It depends what she was contributing. But since I don't think she even met him, and if she did, it was for the blink of an eyelid, I think we can be safe that Meghan had no impact on monetary policy, even if monetary policy has an impact on her. Well, 2 years after, she resented being objectified as an object of desire, according to her, because it was all about my beauty and none about my brains. My brains, the brains that are so great that she couldn't pass the State Department exams. Oh my goodness. Those must be for the top 40% of the population. Oh, does that mean Meghan's below the 40% line? Oh, Aurora, come and give Mutty a kiss and console her. She's grief-stricken for Megsy, baby. 2 years after, then she did an advertisement where she sizzled, and it wasn't only the burgers that were sizzling either. No, it was every augmented bit that sizzled hotly. Of course, she wasn't objectified there either, because when she was giving blowjobs in 90210, she was fulfilling the Stanislavski method of acting, doubtless, practicing, if only cinematically, for all the artistry she could unleash elsewhere at another time, so that she would shine brightly in front of the camera, and Harry would be known as Blowjobs Harry at the Palace, which he was. Mr. Stanislavski has a lot to answer for, unless, of course, we're giving a lot of credit where none is due, and the whole thing is a massive coincidence, which is possible. Michelle Mimile says, Whoopi Goldberg called Meghan out in the talk show The View. Hollywood will be going after her. Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg, I think, made the point I made, which was, excuse me, what are you complaining about? It's a valid way of creating a career, of earning your laurels, of gaining a step on the ladder upwards. Why are you complaining? Why are you not only complaining, why are you denigrating not only your own accomplishments in that regard, but the accomplishments of everybody else who has done the same thing? And you know, Meghan seems to forget that most Miss World and Miss Universe contestants are doctors, lawyers, proper professionals. They didn't go to university to study acting and studied it so well that they are just shown all over the place to be overacting because they're so desperate for success that they just can't modify themselves. Everything has to be at fever pitch. Well, the worm really has turned, hasn't it? Because when you have people like Whoopi Goldberg and Megyn Kelly, who's very funny about Megsy Baby as well, and you have people like Maureen Callahan and Page 6, oh, the list is going on and on. Oh. Mickey, please, come and console Marty. She's grief-stricken on Meghan's behalf. Grief-stricken. Brings tears to my eyes and sniffles to my nose. Oh, come on, Mickey, make Marty feel better. Patricia St. Clair says, I wonder if she offered to make Howie Mandel roast chicken. And maybe waffles. She's evidently a specialist at roasting that chicken. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, it worked. She acquired a royal prince, even if she's managed to deroyalize him in the most flagrant way. And let's not forget, when they linked up, Harry was the second most popular member of the royal family. He's now at the bottom of the barrel, scraping along with his uncle, who, in my opinion, as some of you agree with and others disagree with, has been unjustly put in the stocks. But Harry, definitely justly put in the stocks. It's just as well he doesn't live in the 17th century anymore. Otherwise, my goodness, either we'd be throwing lots of eggs at him, or, even better, we'd be standing up and waiting as he arrived at Tower Hill to say a final prayer and meet his maker, because his earthly reward would be a catapult into the afterlife with hopefully one blow. Anna Al says, I don't know who started this genius malarkey, but I never witnessed her superior brain powers. Always thought she was rather stupid, but very determined and pushy. That's all. Anna Al, that's a very interesting point that you've made. And I have to tell you, when I was writing Meghan and Harry the Rell story, people emphasized to me how bright Meghan was. Meghan, I was reliably informed, has told people that she is insanely bright. Insanely bright. Where did this awareness of Meghan's brightness emanate from? Well, I think we need look no further than Megsy Baby. Her technique was absolutely invaluable for hustling her way via smoke, mirrors, and hat tricks up the social ladder. What she didn't realize is, as you're climbing up onto the stage, the world stage, the viewers' glimpses of you are limited. But when you're on the world stage, everything is exposed. People can see you for what you are. Unless you are as good an actor and phony as Philip Schofield, otherwise known as His Majesty of the Closet, you don't fool many people. Philip Schofield has one of the worst reputations in the media industry, but he is beloved by a huge segment of, although it's ever decreasing, it's got to be said, of his admirers in the public domain. But I'll come to that point a bit later, because I'm going to touch upon it with something else. Because the reality is, as I can tell you from my own personal experience, when you're somewhat well known, which means that you appear in the newspapers and your name is identifiable and you have a certain profile, and you, if you're British and of the world that I came from, you are constantly in the gossip columns, etc., people know your name. Socially, you're very well known. You walk into a room, everybody knows who you are. Everybody knows every lie they've read about you. People don't know what to believe. So they end up believing what they want. The general public believes the lies. Those who know and remember who you are, and they're relatively few compared to when you become really famous. But once you're really famous, and you are famous via the media, not the print medium, but television, TV shows, the public gets your true measure. This to me was the most wonderful present that I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here gave me. They gave me true fame by exposing me to, on a national level where I can't go anywhere without being recognized. That might have been a double-edged sword, but it wasn't, because thanks to the public reading of my personality and character, they were able to dismiss all the lies that the newspapers had been telling about me for 40 years. 40 years. That, I tell you, is a wonderful knapsack to have removed from your back. With Meghan, it's worked the opposite way. Because Meghan, by exposing herself, has exposed herself. I didn't realize that I was exposing myself and that people would actually like me and that they'd see me for what I was. But people see you, unless they are very ignorant or very prejudiced. Most people see through the act and see you for what you are. So, Martina Crosby says, she may not be a goddess, but some of her photos in both The Cut and Variety have a cult leader vibe. Martina Crosby, you have hit the nail on the head. I have said this before, that Meghan has set herself up as a leader of a cult, and that Harry is her most faithful follower. And she has other faithful followers. Yes, she does. But what she aims for is cult-like status. She, like all true narcissists, rampant narcissists, it's not enough to be liked or loved. You need to be worshipped. She is a cult figure. That's what she set herself up as. The supreme authority in all matters. If she says it, it is so. Amazing. Churchill says, "Dear Lady C, what are your thoughts about Harry's wife's latest puff piece in Variety? Love from Tennessee." Well, I think it's very interesting. She clearly has completely ignored the warnings that Sunshine Sachs were giving her about too much exposure. She wants more. They wanted less. She wants more. And she's getting more. And this week, dear Megsy baby has brilliantly backpedaled on a lot of what she said in the cut. And she's put the knife in with regards to the cut as well, because she's made the point that she was too trusting. In other words, she was betrayed. Come here, Mickey, please. Come and help. Kiss Mummy, come. Yet another person has betrayed poor Megsy baby. Come on, give Mutty a kiss. Come on. Oh, yes. Mutty needs your love and comfort. Mutty grieves for Meghan. Yet another person has betrayed her. And she's so loyal to everybody. She is a picture of loyalty. Don't take my word for it. Ask her father. Ask her sister. Ask her brother. Ask the royals. Ask the friends that I'm going to be coming to in a little while. The friends of the Queen. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, if you have a short memory or none at all, the Variety piece is excellent. Well, of course, it makes her look like a cult figure in the main picture on the front page. Inside, some of the clothes and some of the styling is very good. If you are a 26-year-old model, especially if you are a 26-year-old model whose shtick is being a jeune fille. However, if you're not the perennial young girl, a picture of innocence, there's a problem. There's a big problem. Because Meghan's a 40-something-year-old woman. Not only is the subject matter highly inconsistent with what has gone before, and she can't really decide whether she's a firm, solid, feminist, independent woman who doesn't need men and doesn't trade upon her looks, or she's a bimbo who not only trades upon her looks, but knows how to roast a chicken. Yes, I do. And I also know how to play Julia Roberts. I'm so bashful. Yes, just like Julia Roberts. I've taken leaves out of Julia Roberts' book. Yes, I have. Oh, gosh, just look at me. I'm so demure. I'm so modest. I mean, when I'm telling that interviewer about what a genius I am and how, I can solve the world's problems. If only everybody would let me, if only people would give me a chance. But I'm so modest with it. And I'm so demure. And then she's kicking her feet in the air, like a 14-year-old, lustily trying to seduce across the field a 15-year-old boy so that they can go behind a haystack and get kisses. She kicks her feet playfully in the air. And then, when she's asked about who would play her in 100 years, she, of course, who's going to be alive and kicking, legs in the air still. Practice does make perfect, doesn't it? At 141, she's going to demand that they bring out her playfulness and her sweetness. Remember, she's like strychnine, sweet and deadly. God, I tell you. If only she could make up her mind what she is, but then she'd be far less entertaining if she did that, wouldn't she? You know, she wavers between various roles, and in Variety, is she a model? Is she objectifying herself? Is she playing upon her feminine desirability and sexuality? Is she doing the I'm a blonde bimbo? Well, I'm not a blonde nor a bimbo because I'm a middle-aged woman. She's playing upon that. Look at the photographs. I mean, I think she actually looks pretty good in most of them. I think she looks as good as she possibly can. Just goes to show, when she has a good stylist and the clothes are on some sort of commercial arrangement. Oh dear. Mickey, did you just fart? Oh, I think I smelled something odoriferous. Well, anyway, as I was saying, the clothes fit. And you notice, not quite as much brown face as normal. And I'm just waiting now for when she's going to revert back to, I'm the great and grand Duchess of Sussex, and I condescend to speak to you peasants who are just ordinary human beings, because her latest shtick is, I'm just so ordinary and relatable. I've got a fabulous sense of humor. We're so down to earth, you know. When we're scrolling through the television every night, and then of course she goes very serious and shows what a ball-breaking something or the other she really is, because she can't maintain the act too long, so she has to, every now and then the mask slips and out comes dominatrix. Maybe we should call her Trixie for short. Or why not just Trix? Trix might be a good name. She's posing as relatable, cheesy, really cheesy. And Harry and I just love all those fast foods. And as our convoy of gas-guzzling 4x4s with our security, pulling to the latest fast food that we have decided to patronize, and they know us so well, like they see us coming from 10 miles away. We don't even need to make the order anymore. They know who we are. They have spies looking out for us, just like the paparazzi. And they know when we're pulling in, and they have it all ready, and they say, Meghan, Meghan, Meghan. Ah, Meghan, Meghan, Meghan. Ah, Worship, worship, worship Meghan. Oh, Meghan, Meghan, Meghan. Have another chocolate cookie. I mean, really, you couldn't make any of it up. The wild inconsistency, the complete ridiculousness of it all, the total farcicality, the stupidity. Stupidity. Janice Reeves says, I wonder what Lady C thinks about the possibility of Boris Johnson being the next Prime Minister. I recall she didn't think much of him being ousted in the first place. Me neither. Is it even a possibility, and what would he have to do to restore his reputation and turn the fortunes of the Tory party around? Much love, Janice, a red wall voter. For those of you who don't know what a red wall voter is, those red wall voters are from dyed-in-the-wool Labour supporting constituencies that voted Tory. Tory. I mean, Boris had a huge majority. I'm not saying Boris didn't make mistakes. I think the Conservative Party's conduct has been shocking, disgusting, disgraceful, irresponsible, and if they do not clean up their act very quickly, I would hope that those who are responsible split off from those who aren't, and let's have a proper Conservative Party, and let's then have the hatchet job. I think the whole thing stinks to high heaven. I don't know that Boris has sufficient support amongst the MPs to be re-elected. I think the correct thing would be for Boris to be re-elected. But we have some very ambitious people who want what he had. We have Rishi Sunak, we have Michael Gove. Boris has not that many friends. It so happens, it turns out Boris was absolutely right about what should have been done about COVID in the first instance. He's not getting any credit for that. Boris also steered us through the Brexit negotiations up to this point. However, make no mistake about it, a large percentage of Boris's enemies are Remainers. They would like us to return to the embrace of Europe. Do I think he stands a chance? I'm not sure. I find the whole thing profoundly depressing. I actually think Keir Starmer would make a fairly good Prime Minister. I have nothing against his policies. I'm not worried about Keir Starmer. I'm worried about the radicals in his radicalized wing of the Labour Party, who are also trying to grind the country to a halt. So even if Keir Starmer were elected, there's nothing to guarantee that he would not be replaced by a hard left Prime Minister. That is the stark choice we, the British people, are facing. A bunch of overgrown, immature, irresponsible, disgusting Tories and a bunch of radicalized Labourites who would also like to displace their responsible leader. I personally deplore what's going on. I think the whole thing stinks to high heaven. I think, as I said, the correct outcome would be for Boris to be instated as Prime Minister, because he is the person the people voted for. Failing something that had truly gone wrong, such as he developed a brain tumour, or he went totally insane, he should have remained in power. This is the second time the Conservatives have done this. They need to change their attitude and their rules of governing. That's what they need to change. Otherwise, quite frankly, they're not fit to govern. Sad but true. I don't think I can make myself any clearer. I think it's most likely going to be Rishi Sunak or Boris. Let's see. Who knows? It might be Meghan Markle. And quite frankly, at the rate things are going, does it really matter which one of the monkeys is going to be performing in the zoo? Because they're all monkeys. I mean, it's just disgraceful the way they're behaving. Disgraceful. I mean, are they human beings or are they monkeys? Because really, they're behaving like monkeys. All of them. Disgusting. And now we come to the question that I think a lot of you are going to find very gratifying. It's from Isle of Man resident. Lady C, first of all, congratulations on doing the stamps for the Queen's 95th birthday and Platinum Jubilee. Your comments were very moving and appropriate. I noticed that the Queen herself approved your contribution, with a special plaque drawing attention to that fact, which I felt was a high honour for any writer. You're the only one she approved, and she approved you not once but twice. May I interject at that point and say thank you so much for making that point? Yes, I am the only writer that she approved. Not all of the others. Moi. I'm proud of it. I'm very proud of it. I'm very, very proud of it. I have just finished your book, Meghan and Harry, The Real Story, and must commend you for nailing them so early in the game. Well, it was easy, my dear. They were as transparent as glass, you know? When people tell you that they're X and everybody else is telling you that they're Y or Z, believe them first. I cannot recommend the book highly enough. Thank you. It provided me with a true understanding of their characters' motivations, aims, and objectives, as well as the worlds they live in a way that none of the other books that I've read, including Valentine Lowe's, did. I intend to tell everyone who hasn't read it that they've got to get the book. My head. My question is, towards the end, you quoted friends of the Queen saying that she told them Meghan was little better than a strumpet and a floozie. This was at least a year before she approved you commemorating her 95th birthday for 10 nations, of which she was head of state, and 2 years before the Platinum Jubilee. From locals who knew her well, I am told the Queen would never have approved your contribution to her official celebrations if she had disapproved of the quotes you attributed to her, or indeed anything you had previously written. Evidently, she kept a close eye on everything that was said or written about her. Can you shine some light on this? I feel what you have to say will provide a key to much that remains unsaid. Well, I hate to tell you, Isle of Man resident, I'm going to leave quite a lot of it unsaid as well. But I'm not going to leave everything unsaid. I'm going to say enough to move the narrative along. Because Meghan stated in Variety, certainly in terms of female leadership, she, namely the Queen, is the most shining example of what that looks like. I feel deep gratitude to have been able to spend time with her and get to know her. And I continue to be proud to have had a nice warmth with the matriarch of the family. Well, first of all, you will notice that Meghan doesn't call her Her Majesty or the Queen. Meghan always has managed to demote the Queen so that the Queen is an appendage of hers. And the Queen noticed it. The Queen noticed it. She noticed things like that. Wonder why? Well, her opinion of Meghan, yes, I quoted friends of hers in Meghan and Harry, the real story, stating that the Queen thought that Meghan was little better than a strumpet and a floozie, and more. She also thought that many a tart behaved better than she did. She found it, and I'm gonna read out some notes that I have from conversations I've had. She found it difficult to believe that someone who had been so welcomed by her and the rest of the family could have repaid their hospitality and inclusiveness with such vitriol. She explained that her much-loved comment, where she said, that Meghan and Harry and Archie remain much-loved members of the family. She explained that her much-loved comment was a deliberate double entendre, saying, in effect, that Meghan was, that when she was saying that Meghan was much loved, she didn't necessarily mean that she or anyone else in the family loved her a lot, but that they gave her a lot of love and would continue to do so. Brilliant use of the language. Well, it was the Queen's English, and she was the Queen, and she certainly knew how to use the language. That is brilliant that she actually did that. I love it. Such a pity she's not here to see that her wonderfully concise, precise, and absolutely marvelous use of the language has finally been shown up in its wonderful magnanimity, in quotes. Well, evidently, she thought that making that statement, that they gave her a lot of love and would continue to do so, was the right thing to do, because in her opinion, that was the best way of dealing with the problem. The problem, remember, is that they're first and foremost family. And although being a royal family has its obligations and constraints, family remains family. And the best way of dealing with oppositional, disrespectful, and destructive personalities in families, especially when you're in the public eye, with all the exaggeration and blowing out of proportion that goes on whenever things get into the public domain is to play the long game with assertions of love. Velvet glove, steel hand. Like her mother. She took a leaf out of her mother's book. Velvet glove, steel hand. In effect, she gave them enough rope to hang themselves with by making it clear that they had no valid reason for complaint and no valid criticisms. And she took the view that the longer they were allowed to speak freely, the more the scales would fall off the eyes of onlookers, which of course has turned out to be the absolute truth. So, it wasn't weakness. It was a calculated decision that showed steeliness beneath a softly facade. Well, the Queen made the point that she and Meghan only ever had one joint engagement, and that Meghan did not comport herself in the desirable manner. Meghan made it a little bit too clear that she was going to do things her way and that she was going to ignore all the cues that the Queen had delivered through Angela Kelly. She wore no hat. She wore an unacceptable coloured dress. She bored ahead of the Queen. That's my observation. The Queen did say she was rather quick off the mark. And the Queen was gracious enough to allow her to go first. She didn't actually criticise that, evidently, but she came pretty close by observing how quick she was off the mark. And she made the point to friends that she and Meghan were not and would never be close. Never. According to the people I have spoken to, some of whom I quoted in my book, and as the Isle of Man resident has rightly pointed out, the Queen knew what I'd written, and the Queen didn't object to what I'd written. And according to these friends of the Queen, she deplored Meghan. Deplored is the word they used. She thought she was affected, insincere, off-puttingly pushy, as well as unpleasantly gushing. She made Princess Michael of Kent look reticent. Can you imagine? I mean, if that's not damning, I don't know what else is. She made Princess Michael of Kent look reticent. Princess Michael of Kent, who had been nicknamed Princess Pushy by the royals, was reticent in comparison to Meghan. Evidently she was willing to give Meghan a chance at first, because Harry was such a problem and Meghan seemed to stabilize him. Now, I'm giving you a potted version of this because I don't believe in dishing up all my aces in one hand. Prince Philip never liked Meghan from the word go. He felt Harry was making the biggest mistake of his life, but there was nothing either he or the Queen could do once Harry threatened to play the race card if he and Meghan didn't get their way and be married with the full blessing of the family. Prince Philip was old, ill, and not up to the fight. So he basically washed his hands of the whole thing and let Harry get on with it. He tried his best and then thereafter thought, I've done my bit. What will be, will be. The Queen thought Meghan's tactics were those of the street. Oh dear, oh dear. Now, I don't know if everybody realizes just what a damning indictment that is. But certainly in certain circles, to say that somebody has the tactics of the street is, I mean, the absolute end. I mean, there are very few insults greater. Let's put it that way. She didn't say whether, because I asked whether the Queen implied whether she meant she was a streetwalker or a street urchin. They didn't know because the distinction hadn't been made. But on more than one occasion, she used the word street to categorize Meghan. She felt the way Meghan went about Megxit, which included but was not restricted to the insult about the word royal, was disrespectful and calculated to spite the Queen personally for refusing to allow in and out, and to intimidate her in case she, the Queen, needed to draw further lines of demarcation, and the Queen was determined not to be intimidated. And you will recall that Recollections May Vary came after, unless I'm mistaken. Anyway, a lot of very gracious rope holding took place thereafter. Even though the public may not have seen it and realized it was taking place. The person's impression was that the Queen thought Meghan was little better than a common old garden blackmailer who had brought the tactics of the gutter into the palace. Oh dear, oh dear. And unfortunately, doesn't all of this have the ring of not only truth but accuracy? She simply couldn't understand how anyone could be so ruthlessly self-centered and materialistic, and agreed that she most likely suffered from a serious personality disorder and possibly a psychiatric condition as well. Well, I think she doubtless had advice, and Prince Philip's aunt, Princess Marie Bonaparte, Princess George of Greece and Denmark, was one of the world's most eminent psychoanalysts. You know, the royal family are very familiar with psychology, psychoanalysis, and psychiatry. And several members of the royal family, including the Queen and Princess Margaret, have at times received treatment when they felt it was necessary. So I just say that for what it's worth. Evidently, the Queen was deeply suspicious of Meghan and very careful to be circumspect when dealing with her. And this has the ring of truth, and I'm going to tell you why it has the ring of truth. because the Queen personally appointed Samantha Cohen to be Meghan's hello darling, Meghan's private secretary and to teach Meghan the ropes. And Samantha Cohen kept on writing to everybody saying they needed to keep a record of all of the things Meghan was up to, because Meghan was playing them. And evidently the Queen was fully aware of it and used the word that Meghan was playing them to more than one friend as well. Now, let me get back to my place. Oh, yes. She thought Meghan had the soul of a tart, and a tart without a heart at that. Well, of course, she was the head of the Church of England, so she would have thought in terms of souls. I love it, don't you? Let me see where we are now. She found it pointless trying to appeal to Harry. He was entirely in Meghan's thrall. She'd always known Harry had problems, but hadn't realised how deep-seated they were. She certainly did realise it when this whole business slapped her across the face. She sometimes feared that Harry's problems were most likely insoluble. Though, being a Christian, she always hoped there would be an improvement. Because, of course, there are certain problems that can only be solved with spiritual regeneration. It's one of the first precepts of the 12-step program. So you don't need to be a Bible basher to feel like that. The Queen did not appreciate the fact that her invitations were being rebuffed and that they were playing her. Meghan rarely, but Harry was complicit, which was a great sadness, quote unquote, and disappointment, quote unquote, to her. For she would never have pegged Harry as being heartless. Yet the impression she conveyed to this friend was that while she couldn't bring herself to say that that was what he had become, his determination to go down such an unnecessarily hostile and destructive path led her to come to the reluctant conclusion that his feelings were no longer what they ought to have been, which I think is a very decorous way of saying he'd flipped from having a heart to having none. But I don't want to put words in her mouth, since she went to great lengths to soft pedal the issue. Let's respect that. She felt that Meghan possessed no real warmth, that she had a patina of charm which duped unsuspecting onlookers into thinking she possessed warmth, when in fact she possessed none. The Queen believed Prince Philip was right about her all along, that she was a professional actress who possessed the accomplished performer's full arsenal of tricks to pull the wool over the eyes of her audience. She felt her relationship with Meghan, she said her relationship with Meghan was very guarded and as superficially amenable as she could manage, and she was determined to keep it as pleasant as possible because of Harry and the children. But she was mindful of the lessons of Daniel, there comes in her religious aspect again. Don't put your hand in the lion's mouth. But that she didn't trust Meghan and was of the firm conviction that she was a wolf who sometimes feigned being a sheep, but was at all times a predator and a dangerous one at that. Much as she'd have liked to believe that Meghan's shows of sweetness meant something, she knew they were simply the actress's tools to deceive the audience into thinking that she was something she was not. The Queen made a pointed distinction between a relationship that was truly warm and one that was like baked Alaska, which, to those of you who don't know, is a pudding which is cold on the inside and warm on the outside. Oh God, only the Queen could have come up with that one, baked Alaska. Don't you just love it? And that, my dear, is my contribution to Meghan's assertion that she and the Queen had a warm relationship, because they didn't. The Queen saw through Meghan. She thought she was little better than a strumpet. She thought she was little better than a floozie. She thought she was little better than a tart. She thought she was too much of the street. Not one of these is a description of somebody you like or respect. And I emphasize that the Queen came to these conclusions as a result of Meghan's conduct, not only in terms of her conduct with her, the Queen, and with Prince Philip, and via Harry and his treatment of his grandparents. And incidentally, she was bitterly disappointed that Harry didn't even bother to come over to see his grandfather when he knew he was dying. She was bitterly disappointed. And she was bitterly disappointed that Harry and Meghan played silly buggers with her when they had to have known she was dying, and they didn't care. How would you, as a loving grandmother, feel? How would you? That's how she felt. I don't know about you, but my heart bleeds for her. And on that note, I will say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and remember, please keep the questions and comments coming in. This cannot be done without you. God bless and goodbye.